This. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Codex Station's Comic Character of the Week. This is the mega episode, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode number 100. We have done 99 characters before, one team, one small super team before, but 99 different characters. Tonight, we are doing the Justice League. We're going to be talking about everything badass about them, top covers, badass moments, so much more. And at the end, ladies and gentlemen, each of us will be picking our team of 7 as our Justice League of America. I'm your host tonight, Sal the Slab Guy, coming to you from the Slavatorium, where it's a cool, crisp 39 degrees. Down below is Dan the Kelly Art, and next to him is the Ric Flair Comics, the master of comics lore himself.
Woo!
He's the one that's, he can easily do this episode by himself, ladies and gentlemen. The Justice League, he has every issue. Every issue. And of course, next to me over here is our Master Commander, A-Dub himself. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Happy 100th anniversary comic character of the week.
Yes, I know. That is insane, isn't it?
This is a mega-sized one. And what was the first character you ever did?
Superman?
Which
Superman.
one?
I think it was Superman. Dan,
Okay.
do you remember?
I'm looking it up.
He's looking it up,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Still far back.
There we go. I want to put this up because we got the ticker. There it is. The Justice League. And Uncle Gary is going to have a show and tell for us a little bit later, too, as well, I believe.
Yeah, I got some show and tell stuff.
Some Justice League goodness. All right. Let's go ahead and get some business out of the way.
It was Batman.
What's that?
It was Batman, then Spider-Man, then Superman.
Oh. I could have sworn it was Superman that we did first, but all right. Very good. All right, let's get some business out of the way, ladies and gentlemen. You can always find me here, but when I'm not here, you can always find me on Sal's Comic Corner on YouTube or as the Slab Guy 77 on Instagram. Down below, Dan, why don't you tell everybody they can find you and get your stuff?
I think they know at this point.
They do. Just shout it out anyhow.
You can go to Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. Post a few times a week like this. I didn't have time to do a whole Justice League thing, so I was doing this Justice League members Zatanna sketch cover, which
That's
is
nice.
a work in progress. So I still got to think it.
Sorry, Jamie, I had to mute you for a second because your feedback is killing us. Okay, I'll turn you back on in a minute.
But
I want to watch you turn Jamie on.
So I will be posting that in a couple days after I finish getting it inked, and we'll have a link to this episode on there as well.
You
Nice.
know, the Zatanna you drew is magic, and so are those breastises you drew.
I figured you would like
Magical.
those.
Magical. There's
Yes. Dan, do you want to introduce that guy next to you right there, or do you want me to do it? You do
Go
it so
ahead.
well. Well, right there, ladies and gentlemen, I already said he is the master of the lore of comics.
Preacher of the
He's the
Lord.
Preacher of the lore. He is the Ric Flair of comics.
Woo!
He's the master of the squared circle. It is Uncle Gary.
Thank you for that. Listen, if you want to catch up with me live and in person, come to Comic Logic. We're Loudoun County, Virginia's only comic book store, and we would love to make your acquaintance. You can especially catch me there every Wednesday morning, getting those new comics, getting that 4-color ink pumped straight into the bloodstream, mainlining it. Told you once, told you twice, told you a million times. Reading comic books makes you strong, baby. Maybe do a few push-ups too. That helps.
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Also, if you want to strengthen your comic mind, follow Comic Character of the Day. That's a site founded by our good buddy Archduke Kevy, and now it's being run by Dan Kelly, the Dan Kelly. I don't know how he has time to do Dan Kelly art and do all, does he have time to do wonderful pieces of art like this and then run a site like that? And we're posting the character of the day. It's been Legion Month. They're only taking breaks on Thursdays where we highlight the character of the day, or as today's case, characters of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan's doing a fine job. So please tune into that. His random panel of the days his random panels of the day are always thought-provoking and usually a little bit randy. So I appreciate that quite a bit.
Randy.
So Randy.
I knew you'd like the Wonder Woman one.
Oh, Wonder Woman was great. If you want to see Wonder Woman chomp through some wood, that's what you want to see. And also, he has a question of the day, Sal. And Sal is always up there making sure that we give you the content you want. And we are always, and I do mean always, being watched by that guy up there, the master builder himself, our high evolutionary. He built this station brick by brick by brick. And he is the man who has had the vision, a hell of a vision, to put this channel on the air so that we can impart this comic goodness, this comic knowledge, this comic enthusiasm out amongst the people because of his wondrous vision. J-Dub.
Thank you, as usual, for that. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. And we don't hear any more feedback, which is good.
Feedback.
Yeah, because I threw it in the headphones. I had it on speakers, and I think they were too loud for the mic.
Roger
Your voice
that.
does seem a little more high pitched than normal, though.
Yeah.
Mine?
Like if you're kind of like you're in a room full of helium.
Mm.
I mean, why not?
I mean,
We're
you know,
just
Well-
going to go with it.
It might be Muppet Day in Wisconsin.
It is.
I mean, you got a new job representing. You got a
Phenomenon.
new job representing the Lollipop Guild.
I mean, sure.
But you know who he does represent? He represents the Codex Station.
Yes,
Like that
he
segue?
does.
That was a nice segue.
Yes,
Isn't
That was a great segue. He doesn't represent it. He embodies it.
He embodies that.
He embodies it.
Folks, go over to the codexstation.com. Check it out. Get some merch. Meet the team. So much more. It was built by this guy over here. You know,
This guy
you
had
know.
nothing to do with it. This guy looks at it, it breaks.
Okay, and Uncle Gary. Speaking of which, how can people connect with us?
Oh, see, like right now, Jamie had to go take care of something because he's positively, absolutely dripping. I
That's
mean,
right.
dripping with the socials. And sometimes you got to shake the drip off. And that's how deeply imbued we are because we have all the socials. And what we want more than anything else is to be able to give them to all of you, baby.
That's right. Just go to any social media, type in at the Codex Station. Boom, you'll find us right there. Just click on that like, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do to get this content. Keep it into your feed. So do it.
Do it.
Now. Do
Do it now.
Also, we do have a giveaway, but I'll let Jamie talk about that a little bit later. We are doing a giveaway every month. This month we are giving away 2 sets of series. One's The Thing, and the other one was Superman. I forgot the rest of the title. Was it Alien Invasion or something? Alien?
American Alien?
American Alien. I think that's what it was. I'll let Jamie explain that when he jumps back in here more, but definitely do a hashtag giveaway. If you're new to the channel, type in hashtag giveaway, subscribe to the channel, send us a screenshot showing you subscribed, and you're in. So that will be given away at the end of the month. Probably going to be the first episode in the next month. You'll hear about the winner. So, there we go. Back with the Codex Station socials. We don't need that. We're already done with that. There we go.
So welcome to hi everyone in the chat. Hello to Bougie and hello
Yep.
to Sunny.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Hello.
We're gonna give Jamie just a minute, or are we gonna?
Yeah, we can't go on without him.
No, we can't. We gotta do that. We can't do
No,
that.
not for the 100th show. No man gets left behind on the 100th anniversary, no matter how Kermit he is.
Yep.
That's right.
No, I actually made 2 teams of 7 because I wasn't sure if we should include the top 3 or not include the top 3.
You're cheating. You made 2 teams of 7.
I did. Well, I couldn't decide, so I had to. Here
Well,
we
I
go.
thought-
Here we go. It's musical squares again. Jeez. There we go.
Incredibly hamstrung with the 7. So I mean that hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, guys, are we ready to kick off this episode now that Jamie is back? Oh, Jamie.
Am I sounding better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
sound
you
good.
do.
You know what it was? I figured out what it was.
What was it?
I was using Google Chrome. I never use it. I tried it today. I didn't realize.
Ah,
We thought you were mainlining that helium, baby.
Hey, as long as I sound better, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
sound
sound
great. You
normal
sound
now,
great.
but Yeah.
All right, we're good.
All right, Jamie, do you want to talk about the giveaways now, or do you want to do it in the show?
Yes, we'll do it now and in the middle of today's episode.
Do it.
So,
Do
ladies
it.
and gentlemen,
Do it
obviously,
now.
new month
Whoa.
and new giveaway. This month, we're giving a twofer, literally, in honor of July's big, premieres of the Fantastic Four: First Steps and Superman with James Gunn kicking it off. We got the full, complete set of Superman, American Alien. I think it's 7 issues, and also The Thing, Volume 2, and that is 8 issues. Now, all you have to do is, if you're in the chat right now, put hashtag giveaway. We'll mark you down. If you're a member, you're already entered for that $1 a month. If you guys join the membership, you guys are entered in every single giveaway. And if you're new to the channel, just take a screenshot that you subscribe, post it on any of our socials or in the comments down below, and I will add you too.
Very good.
Say, in the chat, hello to Liz. Hello to Adam. Thank you for joining
Hey.
us tonight.
Hey, Liz.
Oh, what's up, guys?
One thing we're going to be doing, let's just let everyone know now. I guess we're doing the rosters at the end of the episode, right?
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
So at the end of the episode, since we're doing the Justice League, we will each reveal our own 7-member roster for the league. So everyone in the chat, go ahead and start thinking about who yours would be. And when it gets to be that time, throw your rosters in the chat as well. Let's see
There
who
you
you
go.
want.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Definitely.
interactive. It's an interactive exercise.
Yeah,
It's the
we'll see,
homework. It's
we'll see
fun
how
work.
many people pick Gypsy for their roster.
Damn it.
Davey's like, oh crap, we gotta change that.
No, mine I put work into. Like, literally sat that. Like, I think one or two Uncle Gary might be able to pick from our Justice League top 10 episode we did. But the rest of them, like, I went comic book like lore into this and seeing if any of them were in the league just to make sure at that time.
I only have one member of the Big 7 in mind. But you know what? If we were doing this exercise a week from now, it'd be 7 different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're doing
Like
that.
today, I just finalized it. It was crazy. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this has to be it, because if I keep trying, I'm just gonna keep switching people.
Yeah.
Especially for me, since my favorite iteration of the league is the satellite years when there were like 12, 13 members. So, whenever I think of it, I'm like, I think of, the big team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My initial list was all GLs.
Mine too.
With Nort as the leader.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, I only Earth GLs, only Earth-based GLs. That was it.
Howard the Duck was a Lantern at 1.2, wasn't he?
No, he was not. Howard Duck was not a GL. No, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks. What's that?
Lobo the Duck?
Yeah.
Lobo the Duck.
Amalgam?
No.
That was the amalgam one, yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. Are you ready to kick this show off?
I'm ready
Made a
when you
pretty-
guys are.
Made a pretty cool intro. I hope you guys like it. Let's turn off these captions so we don't have to worry about that during the show. There we go. All right, then. Folks, stick around. We'll see you in a minute. There's going to be no groovy bass tones because this is a little bit longer intro than expected. So
Ooh.
Of course.
we're just
You
going
and
to
your
jump right in.
intros. Swear to
The
God.
tease.
Here we go.
Look at what Sal did. Wow, that was nice.
Thank you. That was like my 3rd or 4th draft. I had made one that had animated GIFs of the actual characters, but then I couldn't size them properly, and that was pissing me off. So I went with the logo so I could make them pretty much the same size.
Well, all 7 of my picks are right in there, those logos. You did
There you go. There you go. Well, folks, welcome to the Codex Stations Comic Character of the Week, where we take one character, do that deep dive in this character, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been here before, you know the drill. We're going to give you the must-read stories, the top covers, and there's so much more. Some badass moments. But tonight, it's our 100th episode, ladies and gentlemen. 100th episode. So tonight, we're going to make it special. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. We're going to make it special, and we're going to be covering the Justice League, as you had seen in the intro. And at the end, each one of us has a pick of 7 for our Justice League. Thank you. Thank you. I saw what you did there, Mr. Keith. Pretty awesome. But we're going to go around. We'll give you each of us our pick of 7 for the league that we want. And ladies and gentlemen in the chat, you can choose too. So think about your 7, put them in the chat for later, and we'll give you guys a shout out for that. All right, Dan, the floor is yours. Give us the intro.
All right, well, the Justice League first appeared all the way back in Brave and the Bold issue 28 from March 1960. Yeah, we know Gary has that, and the facsimile, and the diorama, and and everyone.
I got the facsimile.
There, thank you, Boosh. Yeah,
Thank you, Boosh.
100, man. Yeah. As far as creators, normally it's a writer and an artist or a couple different guys. This one, it's just a writer because all the characters were already created. So it was Gardner Fox, the writer, that had the idea, like, hey, let's make a new version of the Justice Society with all of our current characters,
right?
And some of whom had just were just super recently introduced, like Green Lantern. I think who was it Steve Englehart that years later realized that timeline wise that Hal Jordan would not have had his Green Lantern ring at the formation of the Justice Society, so we had to do some creative storytelling for that. Anyways, the original team was the ones known as the Big Seven: Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and even though they weren't appearing on the covers, Superman, Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And they formed to stop an alien invasion of the Apalexians. I assume I'm saying that right. From conquering the world, they teamed up, worked out pretty well. They decided to stay together. As far as their superpowers,
it's everything.
Not at all.
If there's a superpower that's in comics, chances are somebody that's been in the league has it.
Yep. Most definitely. All right. So let's go ahead and then jump into our next segment of what works best. So I'm going to kick the floor to Gary. What works best for you for the Justice League?
What works best is when this group of heroes gets together and they take on the threats that are too big for any other team, any other individual hero to beat. They are the supreme team. Of course, they were the modern iteration of the Justice Society, which of course we have to give Gardner Fox credit for that too, because he wrote Justice Society, JSA.
Right.
He was the granddaddy of the team books. And so this was the modern take on the Justice Society, and it was brilliant. And while we're here talking history, for those of you that love Marvel Comics, and I love Marvel Comics too, but I am more of a DC guy, the Justice League of America may be responsible for the Marvel Age of Comics because Stan Lee was leaving Marvel, and the fabled golf game between the editor of the publisher of DC and Marvel's owner publisher Martin Goodman and Leibowitz for DC, where Leibowitz was bragging about the sales of the Justice League of America. And Goodman goes back to his offices, tells Stan Lee, hey, Stan, we need some kind of superhero. And Stan, we need a superhero team. And Stan, who was almost on his way out the door because he was, because he had been, disgruntled with the way things were going, his wife says, well, Stan, why don't you write a book just this once the way you would like to write a book? And what he wrote was Fantastic Four, and the rest was history. So, for you Marvelites, you owe the Justice League a little bit of thanks, baby. And we as comic fans do too. So that JLA, it was a giant hit, and sales through the roof after its 3-issue tryout in Brave and the Bold, and just bringing these teams together. And like Dan had said, the Green Lantern was of Hal Jordan was just newly put on the page as a Showcase 22 when he jumped in there. And the Wally West, the Barry Allen Flash, who was a few years, he'd been around for a few years, but having him as one of the catalysts, and then using the heroes that the only 5 heroes that had been continuously published since the Golden Age were Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Green Arrow. And even though he was an initial member, he joined in 4. Those were the only 5 heroes that were continuously published after the superheroes waned in the 50s. So to bring these guys back with the new fresh blood of Barry Allen and Martian Manhunter and Hal Jordan, it was brilliant. And this book sold like hotcakes. And they had sci-fi themes on a lot of them with aliens, and that was kind of what the kids of the day were into. So this book just laid the groundwork for what the JLA became. And like Dan said, almost every hero that's been in the DC universe has run through the Justice League at some point. And this is, what I think is my opinion, is comics' preeminent super team. And they are ready to take on everybody, whenever, wherever. They will be there, they will kick ass, and they will prevail. And I think that's when the JLA works best, when they are the line. They are the line that's drawn in the sand. You will not cross this line, because the JLA is holding that line. And that's how I love them.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm going to try and follow you up, Gary, on that one, but it's going to be impossible. You can't. What everything he said was
everybody
100%.
agrees. Let's move on to the next subject.
Let's move on. No. I just want to say that when they work best when they're fighting an epic event, and when they're all together, you can bet your bottom dollar it's an epic event. And as you look back through the years and you see every type of crisis or world-ending event, who is there? The entire Justice League. So that's all I'm going to say for that. How about you, J-Dub? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little different.
Uh-oh.
I actually like them when there's no BS. Like there's no struggle between them in a big fight. When they're united, they're outstanding to me. I love reading it. When they're on the same page, when when they're coordinating with one another and knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses is when they work the best.
That's right. Okay.
And let me just address real quick what Chris says. Do not diminish the impact of the JSA. The JSA, that was the first, the one, the originator. But the JLA is very much in that tradition. And where the JSA is the first, though, the JLA is in sheer power. I think. Well, I will say that the JSA with Spectre and Fate, that does give them kind of they're pretty tough too. But I just think the JLA in the public zeitgeist is the team. But all props go to the JSA for being the first and the ones that started this great, this great combination of heroes that every single comic company has used since then.
Yeah. Well, real fast side tangent. Speaking of, earlier when you were talking Fantastic Four, y'all ready to be proud of me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I read FF #1, and I'm hooked.
Nice.
The original?
I got the facsimile. I'm not Uncle Gary.
Well, I meant like the original number one.
Yeah. The original Mole Man, everything. Like I thoroughly loved that book.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I felt like a little proud Padawan. I was like, yes.
Yeah, read that FF #1. That was groundbreaking.
It was amazing. So yeah, sorry, Dan.
Well, people who don't see our private chat, there's the group chat, and then there's the one between us. Don't know that Jamie is in the process of trying out for the Justice League by destroying his chair with his upper body frame.
Yep.
My bicep just broke it. So. Like it's literally just
yeah. I mean, I gotta echo that. DC's got the Justice League, Marvel's got the Avengers. They're both the same kind, thing in the sense of it's our big, it's our, all of our biggest separate characters into a team. And at this point, everyone in Marvel's been in the Avengers, everyone in DC's been in the Justice League. But that's the big thing. Yeah, you're right about that, Chris. But yeah, I like it when it's, I like the Justice League. I've said it before. I'll continue saying it. It's the satellite years that were my favorite time. Now, maybe it's because, when I started reading Justice League, it was older issues, and that, those were the ones that I picked up. But I like it where it's the big team when you get all the, the big A-list guys, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, you get all of them, and then you have all these other characters that are good, but they're not characters that, would have their own books all the time, So you got Plastic Man, Firestorm had his own book for a pretty good run, but since that initial run, not as much. You get Red Tornado, you get some of these other characters that aren't as big, but when they're in the league, they're all the same status there. So it's always cool seeing. And again, same thing with the Avengers. You get the big time guys like Thor, Cap, Iron Man, and then you get all these other characters that don't have their own books, but when they're on the team together, they're all equal. And it's always great seeing them together and seeing them go up against the biggest threats that are out there.
Absolutely. They're the JLA and the Avengers are just, that's not just the big leagues. That's the all-star team.
Yeah.
That's the all-stars.
That's when you get
right.
called. That's when you're getting called up to the show.
Yeah.
And it's always, and again, going back to the satellite years, it's always cool when you would see, this guy's got monitor duty and having to do that, and some of them just, hanging around.
Yeah.
But I also like the relationships you get in them too. Like you get to see, like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle together. You get to see Hawkman and the Atom. You get to see Flash and Green Lantern. You get to see Green Arrow annoying the shit out of Batman
And Hawkman.
and yeah.
Right.
But
I
like
love when he argues with Hawkman. It's amazing.
yeah. But you get to see, when they're all grouped together, some of the relationships that have formed there, like Wonder Man and the Beast in the Avengers.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the Avengers, not in the X-Men.
I saw what you did there.
So
Did you see it or
yeah.
did you hear it?
So that's
I can
that's
see it.
what I like. And then the bigger the team, the more that you get the dynamics of those relationships too, like Plastic Man and Big Barda.
Well, she used to like to wear a Plastic Man dress. It's form-fitting.
Yes, indeed.
She
All right, then.
touched the shit out of that, though, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She wanted to.
Hashtag Beast is a leaguer.
Well, you know what? I was going to save this.
Beast belongs on every team.
I was going to save this little trivia question for the end, but since Chris put that in there, I'll just throw it out there now. Do you guys know the only member of the Avengers who also has been a member of the Justice League? Or has had membership in the Justice League?
Spider-Man.
This is Captain America.
Oh, Mighty Mike Harbor joining us too.
Mighty
Oh,
Mike.
Oh, there you go. What's up, Mike?
Hey,
Right,
all
right,
the
right
way
north.
from
Are you
Alaska.
by me?
No, he is in Alaska, baby.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is cold.
He's
Yep.
in Alaska getting ready to jump on a flight to Seattle. And then he'll be in Seattle tomorrow, and then he'll bring his butt back home where we all miss him tomorrow. Save
We do miss him.
Yeah, we love you, brother. Miss you,
Speaking
my
of
friend.
which, real fast, I want to say shout out to Mike and Uncle Gary for their Comics 101 episode. You guys killed it, and everyone keeps talking about it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it. I just watched it earlier today.
Well, thank you. It was a fun episode, great concept, and Mike and I enjoyed doing it with Jamie and his much better looking other half, Precious.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, do you guys know the only member of the Avengers who has also had membership in the Justice League? And it was mentioned in the comics, so it's canon.
I guess it was in JLA Avengers. I just don't remember it. I don't recall.
I say
Anyone?
Captain. I was going to say Captain America. That's where I'm going with.
Bueller?
Take off your hosers.
You want to take a guess, Jamie?
Superboy.
Superboy. It was Hawkeye.
Oh,
There is a scene in the beginning of JLA Avengers, I believe it's issue 3, when Doctor Doom gets put into the Source Wall and the Justice League is all there in space in Green Lantern's bubble, and Black Canary is hanging all over Hawkeye, saying, "Oh, it's so great that you decided to leave your Earth and come and be a part of the Justice, and join the Justice League." And of course, Green Arrow's off to the side, and he's pissed and like, "Oh, what does he do? I can, so great, I can do all that." And then Hawkeye, is there for a minute, and then he disappears. But it is the only time in comics that there was an Avenger who was said to have also been a member of the Justice League.
What's going on?
And that was said by Black Canary.
Yes.
Well, that's because he was boning her, so that's why she said it.
Well, there you go. And and it's funny because you see Green Arrow off to the side, all pissed about it.
He's got sticks.
Shaft envy. He was Shaft
Shaft.
envy. Shaft envy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is badass moments. And Dan, why don't you kick us off first with badass moments?
All right. Well, mine somewhat tie into my essential reading because it is very hard to pick only three stories for the Justice League. So I picked my badass moments from stories that were on the bubble of making my top 3 readings so that I could still include them.
Oh, please
so
pick
one
all
of
mine again.
I would be shocked if that happens here. There's so many to pick from. So the first one I'm going to go with is from Identity Crisis, where the League decides to. Is that really one?
No.
Oh.
I just wanted to see your face.
Yeah.
Those moments. It's all about
and
the shaft.
evidently, at that particular time, she preferred a purple shaft to a green one.
So Green Arrow was all pissed into the side. And be like,
It's all about the color coordinating.
And he's wanting to compare sides of the boxing glove arrows. Anyways, it's from Identity Crisis, where it was revealed that the League, after a heinous act by Dr. Light, had decided to mind wipe him, which was, as far as retcons go, was a pretty good one to explain why Dr. Light went from being, a tough villain in DC to kind of being a joke for a long time.
Very, very long time.
And it, people forget that Identity Crisis was a very controversial book when it came out, and a lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. I thought it was a great story, but that event was something that was the catalyst for that book, and then the catalyst for a lot of changes that happened in the Justice League after that, because even though it's old, if you haven't read it, I'll just say that Dr. Light was not the only character that got mind wiped in that, and it had major repercussions afterwards for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like a top 10 comic for me. So
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
My second one is from the initial storyline from JLA. So I guess it'd be specifically JLA 4. It's when the then newly reformed Justice League with the Big Seven beat the Hyper Clan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Light went from being a badass to being a joke, and this was a retcon that did a pretty good job explaining why. But yeah, the Hyper Clan, who had come down and had captured most of the Justice League, had captured Superman, had him, under kryptonite, all this. And then, of course, in Justice League fashion, hey, what's up, Pam? Glad to see you.
Pam.
Hey, Pam. All right. It's a party now.
Yeah, of course they beat them because Batman figured out, oh, they're Martians. And when he strikes that match and you see them start getting scared and like, what are you going to do with one match? And then he tosses it and there's all the gasoline around. And then separately from that, you see Superman realize, what if this isn't really kryptonite? Like, I'd be dead with this long of an exposure. What if they're just tricking my mind to thinking that it is? And then he realizes they're Martians. And then Martian Manhunter, who knew right away at the time and had infiltrated them. So they all came together, kicked their ass. And then Superman, went on to the world and said, look, we can't be everywhere. We need to fight them. Their weakness is fire. And that one panel where you just see like everybody just stand there listening to him and like in the street, and then you see all of them start holding up lighters against them. So he got the whole world, they got the whole world to fight him too. That was pretty badass.
I think in that series somewhere Aquaman shut some of them's brain down because they might have been creatures that had been water based at one time when Mars had water. And
yes,
that was pretty badass where he shut their minds down.
Nice.
Had a really cheesy one-liner in it too. Had a really cheesy one-liner that said, "Oh, he can't be here. He's got a headache," and then says to himself, "I don't know why I said that."
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Gary, you can go next with yours.
I got one more.
Oh, got one more. I thought that was three.
He's got a third one.
Oh, sorry. Please.
The other
continue.
one, it's from JLA Year One, which was a long form telling of the origin of the Justice League, though they changed stuff because they, had the different continuity where they had Black Canary instead of Wonder Woman forming. That's a whole other thing. But at the end of it, when they were fighting the Aplexians, is that how you say it?
Appalachian.
Appalachian, yeah.
They're fighting
they were-
epilepsy.
They had when they formed, that was who they fought when they formed, and they barely beat 7 of them, and they had 7,000 of them coming to take over the planet. They had captured all of the Earth's metahumans, and the Justice League were the only ones that left, and they freed all of them, and they like literally were going to war. And I love the way that it was written, like how they had, they were all on different missions, fighting them on different fronts. And, and it was written like they were at war, and you saw some, again, them inspiring people. Like there's a scene when, someone's calling for Aquaman to help. He's like, I got to finish here first. And the normal people are like, no, man, we got this. And they start helping each other out of like a bus that had turned over and stuff like that. And they rallied the entire Earth's metahumans to fight against these guys. Finally beat them, sent them away, and then it ended with the Justice Society saying, all right, we weren't sure about you guys, but you proved it. We're passing the torch on to you.
Well, and you mentioned a couple times in your badass moments that JLA is an inspiration to the rest of the world.
Yes.
Yep.
They are an inspiration, which was one of the really interesting thing in JLA Avengers, where the Avengers and the Justice League are.
When they switched.
When they switched worlds and they saw each other's world. And the Avengers see how everybody adores and worships the Justice League, and they're like, who do you guys think you are, putting yourselves on a pedestal, and you make these people worship you? But that's the adoration that everybody had for them. And of course, the Justice League shoots back, and it's seen how the people would treat the Avengers protesting outside the mansion. And they say, why do these people hate you? What have you done to these people? So that was just a brilliant
Oh, sushi. Yeah.
It's funny. It reminds me of a line from when, I'm sure Jamie's got it, the Aquaman, the New 52 run, when Johns he had written before New 52, but he stayed the writer for the relaunch, and he goes in the little restaurant and he orders like, he orders like the fish and chips. And they're like,
seriously?
You eat fish? And he goes, of course I do. He's like, what do you think I eat? I live underwater. What else do you think I eat? He's like, don't you eat hamburgers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, he poked a hole in that canard. Yeah, he does like fish sticks. Yeah,
Fish sticks.
That was just Mira.
She's got some nice sticks.
Yes,
Oh,
she does.
Mara likes fish sticks too, but she likes a different kind of fish stick.
This is turning into a
She's
Saturday show, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, good ones, Dan. Good ones. Uncle Gary, you got the floor. What's
You,
your
you sure you don't want Jamie to go? We don't want to take his.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Jamie will go next. You
I'm
go
pretty
next,
sure I
you
got
go
everything
now, Gary.
different. I did work for this one.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I want to start out with Tower of Babel. So Tower. See, there you go. Yeah, I told you.
Yep,
See?
I had
I'm gonna
that
stay-
too. That's all right. It's good.
Well, what
Bye, Jamie.
I was. See, I offered. So
You did.
you know this. So Jamie, you want me to leave that one for you?
No. I just
I
broke the
can
other
leave
arm
that
of my
for you.
chair.
Okay. Well, there you go. So in Tower, I'll let Jamie elaborate more on it, or Sal elaborate more. But in Tower of Babel, basically, the League is taken out by the protocols that Batman has put against them. That have Ra's al Ghul has stolen these protocols, and he has used these complex scenarios to depower the entire League at that time, and they are effective as hell. What was really badass is that the League, Batman has figured this out. He's gotten word to the League, and the League, who are severely compromised, and this is the great thing about the League, is the teamwork they exhibit. The teamwork. They are greatly compromised, but they sacrifice. They sacrifice for one another, putting the other ahead of themselves, and put themselves on the line, and they get each other out of these predicaments, and then they come back and they kick ass. And these were, like I said, I'll let them elaborate maybe on some of the predicaments, but they kick ass. And then at the end, when they come together and they've done that, and they realize that Batman, these are his protocols, the League was so badass that they kicked his ass out of the League. So,
But it was so great because they voted on it, and it wasn't all it was like a split vote. And remember, if I remember right, it came down to Superman's vote.
it did.
And then you never saw what his vote was because Batman just said, "I'm out," because he didn't want to put that on him.
Well, no, Batman was gone because he knew how everybody would vote.
Yeah.
Which is badass too. He knew how everybody would vote, and there was great dialogue between the characters
Yes.
on how they would vote and why they were voting a certain way, and it was fantastic. And Plastic Man's probably was
That
the
one was
best
great.
that Batman brought him in the League, and he goes, "You're right. He brought me in the League. Get him out of here." I mean,
Yeah.
but it was. But another cool thing about Batman, of course, was Batman didn't stick around for the results because he knew how everybody would
Right.
vote, and it was a 4. I think it was a 4-3 vote. So, but just the sacrifice for your teammate, put yourself on the line, and they saved one another, and then came back like gangbusters and saved the day, and then still kicked Batman's ass out of the League temporarily. So, and
He was on double secret probation.
double secret probation. Okay, so I'm going way, way, way old school, so I don't think this will take anywhere. The first origin of the League was back in Justice League of America #9, and in Justice League of America #9, here's the cover. There's the cover for 9.
Yep.
This side.
I almost shows that cover too.
Yep, it's a great cover. So, in it, the aforementioned Appalachians have come to Earth, and they are trying to invade. They're trying to take over, and you know what? Mike, the Batman is prepared for everything. So they have turned the League into these wooden creatures, or these wooden, pretty much statues that can barely move. But the League gets out of this through what I think is so cool. Gardner Fox wrote this. It's teamwork. So their powers have been negated. This Appalachian has turned them into wooden creatures, but Aquaman starts it. And Aquaman, as they're shambling along, following the lead, he keeps hitting Green Arrow in the hand, in the branches of his hand where he knows the ring is. He keeps hitting him enough that the ring is now exposed. Green Lantern does not have much control to do anything else but move along. He uses the ring and he shoots a beam from it. He can't aim it, but he shoots a beam from it toward the Manhunter, hoping that he can expose, his face, to be able to. Manhunter can use some of his powers, and he does. And so this teamwork is just like dominoes falling. and one team member, making it so that the next team member can do more. The Manhunter is exposed, and he uses, like Superman, he has super breath, and he uses a great burst of super breath to push the Flash into Wonder Woman, who then falls into the path of where Green Lantern can shoot that ring, and it exposes one side of her where her lasso is, and she's able to grab the lasso. Would they be sporting? Not. Well,
it kind of reminds me of that Captain Planet Funny or Die parody they did with Don Cheadle as Captain Planet, where he kept turning everybody into trees.
Yeah.
Well, she uses that lasso, and she's got the one good arm, the lasso. She gets it around the Appalachian, and she pretty much puts hoodoo on that lasso and spins them so hard she turns them into a pile of splinters. And when that happens, the effect wears off of all of them, and they're restored to normal. So I just love the teamwork of this that they put into the origin story, that it took every one of those 5 to, like dominoes, fall into place to win the day through sheer teamwork. Now, as we get, my third one has to do with those daggone Appalachians, and it has to do with, in my mind, the greatest single issue of Justice League ever, the greatest single issue, and it's a here we go, Justice League 200. It's a wraparound George Perez cover.
Yep.
So here's 2 of them,
Yep.
and the Appalachians are back with a vengeance. They have put like a ticking time bomb in the meteors that were recovered from this adventure that were going to eventually go off again. And this has happened for the 200th. So this is the greatest anniversary issue I've ever read of any comic. I love it.
Yeah.
And in it,
I read that. You gave that one to me.
yes, I did. So in it, the League breaks through. They get the upper hand. And as they're getting ready to kick some Appalachian ass again, right, Chris, the teamwork, Gardner Fox was great with that. Jerry Conway wrote this. So there's this great scene by George Perez where they are getting ready to go kick ass and show the Appalachians who they're messing with again, the Justice League united. And it's the writing here that is just so kick ass. So this team, I've shown you this great image, and it says they have no battle cry, nor do they need one. So we're taking a shot at the Avengers here. They have no battle cry, nor do they need one. They are 15 of the greatest heroes this weary world has ever seen. And their strength resides not in simple slogans, but in their very identity, for they are the Justice League. So that to me was, when 200 came out, it was in the early 80s. I was probably 18, and this just kicked ass. Maybe I was 16 at the time. It might have been 1980. But, to me, that was like, oh, man. So, I love the Avengers, but it was a little shot at the Avengers. But it was also showing that just great shot of the Justice League drawn by George Perez, and they were on their way, and they were kicking some alien Appalachian ass.
Yep.
That's what I loved.
Let me just say, George Perez is the master of the crowd shot.
Mm-hmm.
He is the master of the crowd shot.
Yes.
He is.
All right. Those are awesome.
Yep.
Chris,
those are bro.
Awesome moments, Gary. Jamie, the floor is yours. What do you have?
Nothing.
Yes, it was much less rapey than Avengers 200.
Yeah,
Quentin,
that
contrast.
That
and
was
Jerry Conway, George Perez, proud to be a part of this book, and all the other great artists, Jim Aparo that's in it, and Carmen Infantino, Brian Bullen. Very proud of this. See if you can get anybody to admit who wrote Avengers 200. Nobody wants to admit it.
Yeah, it's got 3 writers credited to it. But...
Yeah, and none of them will claim it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Jamie, floor is yours.
So
badass moments.
I had Tower of Babel because of a lot of the reasons Uncle Gary said, but one that he didn't highlight was the final battle. And that was them all coming together, even though they were beaten down like one by one. And showing how they can actually still work as a unit, even though they can't trust somebody.
Yeah.
And still be able to succeed, and then deal with that bullshit later. But yeah, no. If I was gonna pick, it would have been the Plastic Man Part 2. But yeah, next up I got JLA Earth 2.
Oh, it's a good book.
Yeah.
It's when Superman returns finally, and he's fighting Ultraman. There's a line in there. He's fighting Ultraman, and as he's just beating the brakes off him, he just says, "Justice will always prevail," and just annihilates him. Last one.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's a great book.
Yes, it is.
Last one is, and there's a couple badass moments in this, and then we talked about it in the Dark Side episode, is the Dark Side War. You had Batman in the Mobius chair. You had Wonder Woman taking lead. You had Superman getting a power boost from the Apocalypse Pits. Like, there were so many moments in that there's just too many to count for, so I just figured I'd throw 3 in that one.
That's fine. That
All
works.
on the same story. That works.
So, yeah, those are my 3.
Love it.
Very good. Good ones. Good ones. All right, folks. For me, I went a little bit different because I didn't want to call out any single character on a badass moment because I feel like it's not giving enough credit because there's been so many badass moments for different characters. I couldn't just call out one single character for a single moment. So what I went with was moments that impacted comics because of the team event or what was happening. And what I mean by this is there's been lasting effects on the whole comic universe because of how these events were written out. So my first one was meeting the Crime Syndicate. Okay, it was Justice League 29,
Yes.
and this was like their the first appearance of the multiverse type situation. You had evil versions of themselves, which threw in the question of their morality of are we too good, or are we not too good, but are we going to be over dominating? Like, are we going to become like them, and stuff like that? And there was just so many questions that got raised after that, and you could see the impact that story had, on the rest of the world type situation. So that one, that I had Crisis on Infinite Earths. We saw the death of Supergirl. We saw the death of Flash in there. It was an epic event that had long-lasting effects on the whole DC universe. I mean, the Flash didn't come back for a while. Supergirl didn't come back for a while, I believe. The Anti-Monitor just wiped out people left and right. It was just such a badass story that it had that lasting effect. And my last one, of course, is Tower of Babel. Batman built these protocols. They were stolen. They had to come together to still win the day, but then they kicked his ass out. But the Tower of Babel, it almost broke their trust within the team a little bit, because before that, there was no question. He's got my back. I'm 100% with him, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they find out these protocols were built by Batman. And now they're like, okay, we can't trust your ass. We can't, I mean, Batman always sees the bad in every situation, every single time, and develops a plan to defeat it no matter what. And that's just his character. And that's just, but they really treated him like being an asshole. Because they're like, why? We would never do something like that. Well, how could you do this against us? And he's like, it doesn't matter. You're good now, but you could be a threat later. And they, booted his ass out.
And Batman also did that to himself.
Yeah. He did.
And
He
protocols to defeat himself if he goes rogue.
Right. So there was. Go ahead. Sorry. I was going
to say, and while I feel like that's always been a part of Batman's character, it wasn't really until Tower of Babel that became a major part of his character. It was always there, but ever since Tower of Babel, that's been something that's been a staple of his character that's always brought up and always mentioned way more than it ever was before about, Batman's got contingency plans, and you give Batman a week and he can beat anybody and all that. And it all goes back to that storyline.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I mean. These 3 stories had such an impact on the DC universe and comics in general that you can still feel them like it's ripples in a pond. You can still feel these. Yeah. Yep, that's true. That is so true. So, and the other think about Batman. I think when he decided to quit because he knew how the vote was going to go, he didn't care. He was like, "Hey, if you can't see the reason why I built these protocols, I'm out. I'm just going to leave. I don't care how you're going to vote. That type of situation." And the movie that came out, I think it was called Doom, the animated movie Doom, where it's basically kind of with that. He built protocols that are stolen and they're used against the League. It was almost mimicked from that storyline. They were going to take a vote to kick him out. It's like, if you need to vote on this and why I feel like there's a need for this, then there's no reason for me to be here in the first place.
Do y'all remember who stole them for Roz? Who broke into the Batcave and actually did the stealing of them?
Do you?
I forget.
I forget too. It wasn't
Talia.
Mirror Master. Huh? Talia did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mirror Master was in the from the animated movie, but
Right. And no, in
it
the
was Talia.
comics, it was Talia that did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, being the Crime Syndicate, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Batman betrayed the team in Tower of Babel. Those are my 3 epic events because I think I felt like they have long-lasting effects across the DC universe.
Absolutely.
So those are my badass moments. All right. So let's move on to critiques and criticisms for what we have for the Justice League. I'll go first on this one because honestly, I don't have much at all. I mean, I feel like whenever they have an epic event, I really don't feel like any characters are pushed to the side. They utilize them, in the team for what their strengths are, and I think they're used correctly in every situation. So I don't have a problem there. Sometimes you feel like if there's too many members on the team or the epic event is so big that you got too many players. I've never felt that with any epic event with them. I always felt like every team member was
safe travels, brother.
Oh,
safe travels.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
Joining us tonight, and I look forward to talking with you when you get back.
Yep. See you soon, buddy. See you soon.
Love you, brother.
So I really don't have any critiques on them. So, Uncle Gary, what do you got for critiques?
Okay, pretty much I don't really have any critiques, but I will say this. I am a traditionalist that likes the core team. I, like Dan, started reading them during the Satellite years. My first book ever was this one right here, JLA 11, and this is right smack in the middle of it. And I think the real sweet spot for Justice League was like pretty much issue 100 to maybe 150, where it was just fantastic. Well, actually 100 to 200 probably, or a little bit after 2, I think was a real sweet spot. But those Satellite years were phenomenal, and they got the Satellite in JLA 78 was when they got the Satellite after they were betrayed in JLA 77, and their headquarters have been compromised. But anyway,
Had to leave the cave.
Yeah, they're in a cave. So it was, so I love that era of the team, but I like the traditional team with the traditional Big 7 in it. Every now and then, there'll be a deviation of the team where a lot of the big guns are gone. Listen, as much as I loved Aquaman, I did not love Justice League Detroit. When the League was gone for a while and they were brought back after the Legends miniseries, but the League was the Booster and Beetle. Yep, 100 to 200. I'm with you, Chris. The Booster and the Beetle League. And I know Chris loves that too because he loves Booster Beetle. They were really, it was entertaining and it was fun, but I missed, where it was funny and entertaining. I missed the core league. I really did. I missed the big guns going after with the big battles, and they had to come back, and they came back with the Magnificent Seven. And when they did that, it was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. And then there was a while after that book went for a while where you had some off-kilter leagues, like you had Donna Troy, you had Nightwing in it, you had Congo
Gorilla
in it, and Starman, the Blue Starman. And you know what? Those were good issues, but what I really liked about it was it didn't go on too long. And then we returned to the Magnificent Seven. So I think my only criticism is when you have the league that's not quite the league, and it goes on a little bit too long. It's a great departure, but don't linger on that so long like they did with the League with Booster and Beetle
Right.
and those guys. That that the Magnificent Seven was gone too long.
Right.
That one. So it's okay to have different iterations, but let's come back to what is the core of the League. What everybody wants to see is the big guns, strapping it up, going out there and kicking ass.
Yep.
So,
I agree. All right, Jamie, what do you have for critiques?
Oh, I got a critique. Finally, I hate that they have to always win. I want to see a loss.
well, they've been beaten. It's just not for long.
It's the fact of like I've always seen them prevail better when the chips are down. More than
that makes it dramatic.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but it just bothers me more when it's gotta be the right way to say it. When it could just be one issue and everything's done.
A one and done, a one shot.
Mhm.
Well, that's one reason I think Identity Crisis is such a great story, because does anybody really win in that story?
Well,
The Justice League does not come out very well in that.
no, and it's interesting. We don't want to ruin that story for anybody who hadn't read it, but there are some things that happen. I mean, we have mentioned that Dr. Light got mind wiped. there are certain members of the League that would not have allowed that to happen, and those members were not present then. So there was a schism in the League, between the old guard and some of the other League members, and it was the fact that this secret was kept, and like Dan alluded to, it wasn't just Light that got mind wiped. There was another that went on there, and what what Light had done was horrific too. So that that was definitely a factor. So Dan's right. The League did not come out smelling like a rose in that.
No.
But what a hell of a story by Brad Meltzer. I mean, oh my God, he signed my copy of that, and Rags did too. I mean, what a great book! Wow.
Yeah. But that was the one where Jamie was saying that they don't always have to win. That's one I would argue with. They lost. That there was no winner in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
They all the group within the group. None of them came out smelling good after that, did they?
No.
No.
All right, Dan. I think Jamie is done with his critique. So how about you?
Just kind of echoing what what you guys have said a little bit is, when the team has a lame roster, like the Detroit years, you had the Manhunter and you had Aquaman, and it's still was kind of could have been a cool character, but like Vibe and Gypsy and just and they're fighting crime out of Detroit. And let's see. Yeah.
Well, that's when the League got canceled too.
Yeah, it got canceled. Because it ended right when Crisis ended and it relaunched. And I've said before, everyone knows I'm a huge fan of the Giffen, DeMatteis, Maguire League, and I like it for what it was. But I also, do not like how some of the characters in that were great characters have not been able to shake the stigma of what that iteration of the League did to them. And like I said, I love it. It's fun stories. It did still have some of the the A-list guys with Manhunter and and Batman on there. You had Mr. Miracle and Captain Marvel was part of it for a while. Like so you still did have some. Did Rob Spittle change his name?
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad, but that book was more of a comedy book.
Yeah,
it was more of a comedy book. So,
but and like you said, the one league that had like Kongorilla and it had the blue skin Starman that's been in what, like 6 comics, But that one didn't last super long. And we still had Dick as Batman.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
Mon-El. We had Donna Troy.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was an interesting read, but again, it did not stay too long on the stage, before
Right.
we moved on to, the traditional iteration of the League that we all love. So that, and that wasn't a comedy book either. So
No.
that book
But,
was,
and then, we had the Giffen DeMatteis McGuire. So, then McGuire left. So it was just the Giffen DeMatteis stuff, but then after they decided, like, all right, we're going to end the kind of comedy stuff and we're going to make it be a serious team. We had it was Booster Gold, it was Blue Beetle, it was Guy Gardner as with the yellow ring, it was Maxima, it was Bloodwind, you had Superman there. And then they get messed up by Doomsday, and then you had like,
right.
It was only a couple issues where it was like the Ray and Black Condor and what's his name? What's his name with the black and yellow suit? I can't remember his name now. Yellow Cow, black costume, had the big white star on his chest. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm not remembering. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Agent Liberty.
Oh.
Yeah, Agent Liberty. You had, so you did have some, and that iteration of the League, I think they only lasted like a couple issues before they were like, yeah, we're going back to, some stuff. And then that went into Extreme Justice, which was.
It was like, right. And then there was Justice League Task Force and
Firestorm.
Yep. So, it was, but it was definitely right.
Yeah, Justice League. That wasn't.
Justice League Europe going on at the time too.
Yeah, and so again, it's just that's kind of the one gripe I would have is when they have some of these lame rosters, because like I said, the best thing about them is when you have the big A team, the big guns, and you have some of the lesser characters, which work really well when they're alongside the big time characters, so yeah, you've got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, but like, all right, we're going to throw Aztec in, or Zor-El, or some of these other characters, and you get to see them alongside the big iconic characters, and it makes you more accepting of of the lower tier ones.
Absolutely.
All right, very good. All right, so before we jump to top covers, Jamie, do you want to talk about our giveaway?
Not if my mic's not working.
No,
You sound good.
You
Sound good.
You sound okay now.
I gotta fix this setup. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Whole new setup, so I'm still.
Jamie's
trying to
actually,
work on bugs.
hitting helium right now, so that's why he has this.
Only way I can get through sale hosting.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but we do have a giveaway. Obviously, new month, new giveaway. Talked about in the pre-show, talking about now. For July, since Superman and Fantastic Four is coming out, we are giving away 2 complete sets. First one is Superman, American Alien. This goes 1 through 7. And then we have The Thing, Volume 2, 1 through 8. Now, like before, if you're in the chat, put hashtag giveaway so we can get you down. If you are a member for the $1 a month, you are automatically entered into this one and the rest of them throughout the year. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe, take a screenshot, drop it in the comments or our social medias, and we will enter you in. Oh, but
There you go.
And that drawing happens at the end of the month, so the first show of the new month is usually when we announce the winner.
yes, 28th will be the cutoff, and the first we will announce the winner.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you do that. Also, click like, share, subscribe. Yep. Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, not happy with that. Form of tears.
Yeah.
In the
And
month.
if I sound like I'm sucking helium, let me know in the chat so that way we can get a good laugh.
You were good now. You were good now.
Yeah, I saw Uncle Gary laughing, and when I know he breaks character,
I was
I'm
trying to
screwed.
sound like, oh,
I
man.
saw-
Gotcha,
yeah,
Chris.
I was like,
I was like, oh, come on, dude, that's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
it's
that's
okay.
all right. It's
But
all
like I
good.
said, we're gonna have someone sit down and work.
X-Men
with
say,
me
"Oh
on
my beer, Snoop." All right, folks. Let's move on to our next segment, which is top covers. And Dan, you are going to kick us off for top covers. Dan, you actually have 2 slides because your third cover was your graphic was just too big.
Sal was mad at me for one of the covers.
Don't you
pissed.
hate that?
Yep. All right,
I've had that
Dan. Let's
happen.
find
Yeah,
your,
that's why I
your
didn't
first one.
use any double covers. Yeah.
All right, here you go, Dan. This is your first 2.
All right. Well, on the left, we have Justice League of America 217. This is a cover that I have always loved. You know, again, going back to the satellite years, Fantastic Perez cover where you have, you know, you just have the big, you know, amalgamation of all the characters there. I love that. And then beside it, I mean, I had to get some Alex Ross in here somewhere. And so this is from the oversized Secret Origins that he did. And again, I love that classic iteration of, you know, of the League. And you have all of them doing the, you know, like the iconic kind of superhero, you know, pose. So just absolutely fantastic with that one.
Have you seen the cover of 217 where Perez redid it and he put Batman in it, who's not in it, and Green Lantern and the Martian Manhunter and Hawk Girl in it? It's pretty cool. He's got them all jammed in there. So, because you look at 217, you're like, well, that's the whole league. But then you go, wait a minute, it's not the whole league. So
I have not seen that, but I am going to look that up because that sounds fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's really good. So it's you know what you see there, but with those other heroes kind of shoehorned in there. But you know, Perez can always make that work.
Yep.
I mean, that's what Perez does. You know, he can, you know, you tell him to draw 1,000 characters on a page, and you know he'll put them there, or 1,000, you know, 500 characters on the cover. Which
JLA Avengers 3, 206 characters on that wraparound cover.
You know, it's funny that you say that.
I bet it is, because here it comes.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that?
Perez, the master, you know, JLA Avengers 3. It's just, it's got.
You got an X-Men on there too, at the bottom. What? You got an X-Men on there as well.
No, he said JLA Avengers.
It's JLA Avengers. No X-Men on there.
Yeah, there's an X-Men right there. I see it.
But yeah, I mean,
Quicksilver?
Quicksilver.
You know, it's such an amazing cover, and you know, I wanted to show off, you know, Perez, you know, at his most masterful, which is when you tell him throw everyone in, and he finds a way to not just throw every character in, but make them distinct. You know, where they're using their power set the way they would. You know, they all actually look. You know, it's not like the same face drawn 65 times. They're all distinct, and it's just masterfully done. And I actually had a hard time choosing between this one and the cover for issue 2, where it has the Justice League and the Avengers fighting, because that is, you know, that was such beast in the Justice League.
The only reason I didn't do that is because I didn't want to give Sal that effort. But yeah, JLA Avengers 2 is my favorite cover of that series, where they're all fighting each other. Yep.
I had a hard time choosing between that one and this one. The only reason I went with this one was just the sheer volume of characters, where you've got, you know, like, I mean, it's one of those ones you could sit there and just look at this cover for an hour and just keep picking out new stuff. Like, oh yeah, there's Black Lightning to the side. Oh, there's the Creeper, you know. Oh yeah, Jack of Hearts, and you know, and then seeing all the different characters, but then also seeing which iteration of them he chose to draw. Like, oh, okay, that's the costume that he picked to draw Zatanna in for this.
206 characters on that cover.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I had to go with that.
He is master of the crowd shot. And this picture here really doesn't do it justice, because I had to shrink it down just to fit this damn tile, you know. So go do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Go online, look for a high res version of this copy, and just enjoy.
Even better, and you might even see it in recommended reading. Get the whole 4-issue set.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. You might see that indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So who's next for top covers? Jamie, you ready for top covers?
As long as I don't sound like I'm sucking helium.
You're good.
Right now you're good. So there you go.
All right. So For my first one, I have Justice League of America #2. This is the Meltzer series, and I just love when they're like flying at you. You got the whole team, and I do love this roster from the beginning.
Yes.
Superman in the forefront, Red Tornado always underrated.
Yep.
Vixen in the back with Hawk Girl, and I think he was going. I think that was Red Arrow at the time. I don't remember if it was Arsenal.
Yeah, it was Red Arrow.
It was Red Arrow. Okay. Next up, I have JLA #1. I just think this is an iconic shot.
It
It
is.
is.
You know, you got that badass Aquaman, Manhunter, Kyle Rayner in the back, leading with, Flash, Wonder Woman, Batman, and then Superman in the forefront. And then lastly, Justice League #50. You have the whole team. You can minus Cyborg from that because he's not a Justice Leaguer. He's a Titan. But Darkseid, Grail, all them in the back. For the Darkseid War, I can't speak highly enough about it.
Yep. Talking Geek had mentioned JLA Avengers 4, Superman holding Cap's shield and Thor's hammer. I always like to show people that cover and say, how can you look at this cover and not want to read it and find out how that happens?
Yeah.
Right.
So great. And the JLA one, that book was also magnificent because it was Return of the Seven. Now the Midsummer Night's Dream had come out, a miniseries that kind of reunited them, but this was the first issue of the new ongoing series by Morrison and Porter and Dell, and that series kicked ass. And that is a great cover where it's like, bring it on. What you got? Because this 7 right here is going to kick your ass.
That's right.
And
the buck stops here.
And it was funny because you think of the relationship the characters have now, but Kyle Rayner was pretty new as Green Lantern then. He didn't really get along with Wally West. Wally had been in the Justice League before, in Justice League Europe, but this was his first time.
He didn't even get along with Superman.
Yeah, this was his first time with the main team. Batman seemed to be the only one that kind of believed in Kyle some of the time.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite cover ever, I have to say, is the standoff issue. I think it's 127 with Rayner just standing face to face with Superman.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was calling himself Ion at the time, I think. Right?
Yeah. No, that was that Ion?
Oh.
Was it the Ion suit? I got it up here somewhere.
I think so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
All right. This is a great covers, Jamie. All right, Gary, I got yours here.
All right.
There you are.
So
And
I had
you
quite
picked that one.
I had quite a few covers in there that other people used, and that was fine because I wanted to get a big variety of covers in here. But the one that it didn't matter if everybody had it or not was going in there was Brave and the Bold 28.
Right.
That is one of the most oft homaged covers ever. Brave and the Bold 28. That's changed the comic world right there. That book right there. Like we had talked about earlier, that success from that cover helped begat the whole daggone Marvel universe, from that. So, that is, Chris, that cover of JLA 64, I believe that's a Dick Dillon cover. That cover is amazing. Red Tornado crashing the table in half. But that iconic Starro cover, so good. And that has to be there. That is a historic cover. That was Sikowski and Murphy Anderson on that cover.
Mm-hmm.
The one in the center, that is JLA Justice League Volume 1, because it's just Justice League. Number 33, that's the C cover, and that is by Darwin Cook. And that cover right there, it just is it is old school. It's the love of the Silver Age comes off when you look at every character in there. You could feel the love that Darwin Cook had for those characters. How they've each got a different style. They each, have a different body language in all the characters. Look how the Atom's just vaulting up there. Looks like he's off Batman's cape. It's just beautiful, just wonderful. I assume that might even be Snapper Car at the monitor board behind them. So just a lot of history, a lot of love in that cover, and I just think it's so cool. The one on the right is, I was either going to use that or Justice League 102, which is the shirt I'm wearing and the cover I used for Comic Character of the Day. 100, 101, 102, iconic issues all, but that cover right there of 100 is just fantastic. You got the JLA, you got the JSA, you got the 7 Soldiers of Victory, their images in the ether above them, and then you have the floating heads on the side of the book for the roll call, and you have the great JLA shield. It doesn't get any better than that, man.
Yeah.
And that is by the great Nick Cardy.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed.
And
All
100th issue, so a big anniversary issue to boot.
right.
And when you were talking about Darwin Cook too, you want to see classic Darwin Cook, go read New Frontier.
Absolutely.
If Cook at his finest.
Mhm.
And it's a love letter to the Silver Age of comics.
I was
Yes.
gonna say I love the New 52 love though, Uncle Gary.
I do too. I do too.
All right, let's go ahead and check out my covers then. All right, so first one there, of course, they did the Tower of Babel. I liked how Batman's portrayed standing over all the characters. You can almost feel like the sense of he's responsible for this happening. But
Yes,
I love
he
this. He was, but he could. But I think he's like feeling the effects of that right now. And I don't know. I love this cover. It stands out to me, and I can't really describe any more to that. Next one over in the middle there is Justice League. Let's see, Volume 2. This is the A cover, Rebirth type one. I love the characters coming at you. You got Superman right there in the center. You got 2 Green Lanterns on the sides. You got Batman, of course, Jamie's favorite Cyborg, and you got Flash in the background. And it looks like you got some monsters' hands coming up there, and of course Aquaman's there as well. Very iconic, very one of those action sequences that I really love. This one was actually drawn by Tony Daniel, and I
Yeah.
believe the colorist was Mori.
Nice.
Tomo Mori. So for my last one there is Justice League of America number 170. This is a Giordano cover. You got the fire world in the background, of course, another action shot where they're all popping out or
And Dick
coming at you.
Dillon. And Dick Dillon. Give him some love.
Oh,
too.
yep, absolutely, yeah, 100%. I was going to mention that. Dick Dillon did the penciling for that as well. So
Batman's trying to do that old Irish goodbye there.
Yeah.
what's that?
Oh, Chris said it looks like Batman's trying to sneak away. I said, yeah, Batman's trying to do the old Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Yep. But this would be a cover. If I saw this cover, I probably would have picked it up because it's just the action sequence from it makes me want to pick it up and look and read what's happening in this story. So that's my 3 covers.
I'm glad you put a Dick Dillon in there because he was instrumental in the league. And
We're all very glad you decided to put a Dick in there.
listen, that Dick filled the space nicely.
That does. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's just right.
And you only needed one title card there to make sure to fit that Dick cover in.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
We're
That is
getting
right.
demonetized this episode.
Hey,
Well,
I'm
we're talking about
that
Dick
cover.
Dillon.
That's one of the ones that I picked to put in the spinner rack behind me.
There you go. Yep. Flying Fox. Yep.
And there's
talk,
so many great covers that none of us duplicated one another. And I'm sure if you asked us all to pick another top 3 covers, we could all pick another top 3 covers each and still not duplicate each other.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Well, I changed them a couple times.
I changed mine too because I had one on there that I thought Uncle Gary would love because I thought it was badass regardless. But I had Justice League from the New Justice. It was that orange foil cover, but it had Aquaman in the forefront.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
very good. Well, it was because the ones I swapped out were going to be shown, and there's so many great covers. I wanted to give a greater variety of covers. Is the only reason I pulled them. Yep. So
That's kind of how I went with one of the picks for my recommended reading.
yeah.
All right. Speaking of recommended readings, let's go ahead and jump to that segment. Uncle Gary, do you want to go last for this because you probably got a story time situated with that, right?
Sure.
All right, then Dan, why don't you go ahead and go first for stories? Recommended readings. Let me find your tile. Recommended readings, Dan.
Well, speaking of what I said, Justice League of America 195 to 197. Oh, thank you.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank you.
So that was, Justice League 195 to 197. That's the one I mentioned. As soon as we decided to do this episode,
Hey, Daniel. That's my kid. Sorry.
That was the first pick that I knew I was going to make, and I knew that nobody else would ever pick this. It's not a significant story in the history of the league, but when I started reading comics, I wasn't reading new stuff. I was picking up, old back issues when I would go to antique stores and, flea markets and stuff with my parents. And this was, I don't know if it was the first Justice League I got, but it's the first one that stuck out of my mind. It's a 3-part story where the Justice League teams up with the, hey, it's all right. Thank you for joining us, Talking Geek. Be sure to check it out tomorrow. It'll be on the YouTube.
Yes, thank you for stopping by, Talking Geek.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
But yeah, it's a 3-part story. It's a team. They used to do these annual team ups between the League and the Justice Society, which was always fantastic. So it was one of those, and it was the Ultra Human Knight that was kind of pulling the strings, and it was the Justice League villains that were going to Earth 2. This is when there were still multiple Earths, going to Earth 2 and taking out the Justice Society members, and the Justice Society villains going to Earth 1 and taking out the League members. And some of the ones you got to see the Earth 2 Old Man Superman. You got to see Black Canary that had ties to both worlds, and you get the Prime Leaguers and some of the, newer ones like Firestorm. And it was the first Justice League story that really drew me in. And I reread those issues so many times. There's a pull-out poster of the two teams together in 195 that I had pulled out and stuck up on my wall. And I don't have the original issues that I had gotten of those. I don't know what happened to them. I've since replaced them. But so when we decided to do this episode, I knew I had to have that one on there again. Not significant to the history of the league, but significant to me. And still, it's still a damn good story too. The next one is Justice. It's a 12-issue maxi series that was done by Jim Kruger and Alex Ross. And it's just kind of a love letter to the Satellite Years team. And it's a kick-ass story. It's the big Justice League team versus the big, Legion of Doom team. And it's just a lot of fun from start to finish. And then JLA Avengers. I mean, it's the greatest crossover that's ever been. It's a crossover that fans waited decades for. George Perez, even at that point, he wasn't even working for Marvel or DC. He had gone to CrossGen. And when he signed his contract with CrossGen, he put a stipulation in there that if they ever, that if Marvel and DC ever got their act together and they ever decided to do JLA Avengers, he would be able to take a break from whatever he was doing at CrossGen so that he could go pencil that.
That's cool.
Finally got it, and it lived up to the hype, and it was amazing. And it's still amazing.
It was his magnum opus.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. All right. Good stories there. Dan, Jamie, I'm going to put you up next.
Okay.
If I can find your card. There's your card. Here you go. Oh, Chris says, love the crossovers. I have them all. Yep. Very good.
That painting he has of 195 on his wall his buddy did. Oh, my gosh. It is so good.
Is it
Nice.
Is it a painting of like the cover of it?
Yes.
That's a pretty great cover too, where Icicle is going and Xing out the, using our ice powers to X out the heroes.
Yep. All right, Jamie, here you go. Here's yours.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's me.
We did wait 30 years for that.
So two of them have been talked about now to an extent. I have Tower of Babel on here. Need to read it. Justice, which I didn't think anyone was going to take. So thank you, Dan, for taking the lead on that one. If I'm
Hey,
not
I
mistaken,
always got, when you're going to copy, you got to copy the best.
yeah,
That's right.
and
So I always got to copy you.
Nah. You guys are far more superior in this than I am. But let me ask: wasn't Justice also where they had Aquaman laying down on like the medical table? They were trying to cut him open.
Yes.
Well, Brian, they did cut him off.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they did. No, I was just trying to remember. I was like, was that Justice? Because I think that was Justice.
Mhm.
But no, I remembered that vividly. That's why I added it on here too, because I was like, that was gruesome. But for my last pick, I got Origin from New 52. It was a new telling of how the team
Thank you, Chris.
came together and how they just got their butts whooped by Darkseid, and then Darkseid, booped out of there. And they had to figure out that they had to work together in order to defeat him.
How did he get out of there, Jamie?
He whooped.
Whoop.
Is that the whoop tube he used?
Yeah, he used the whooped. Now, it's not boom
The
tube
whoop
anymore
tube.
because that's his excuse. He's like, whoop, whoop, gotta go.
You know what? If
It's
I
the
ever
YouTube.
get to the point where I get to write a Justice League Darkseid, or I get to write Darkseid, I'm gonna make sure that I put that in there.
Please do. Like, I hate, I already covered this in Darkseid, but I hate that he uses that as his scapegoat. Why are you whooping out, man? Like, come on.
And you're right, Chris. Psycho Pirate is a fantastic underused villain, and the way they used him in Infinite Crisis, where he was the only one that remembered both worlds, and it had driven him crazy. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Yep. Absolutely right.
Oh, all right. Good stories, Jamie. Love them. All
I
right.
hope I did you guys justice.
So I said there. You're in a
Yep.
league of your own.
Yep. Yes, you are.
Sorry
You're
to
a-
babble.
You're a team of 7 on your own.
Just want to
All right,
talk
here's-
about the origin.
There we go. Here's my stories.
There we
coming
go.
up
You
here.
got them all in.
I love
Yep.
that cover. I love that cover too.
Yep. All right. So I went with a couple others. Of course, I went with Tower of Babel, which we really beat to death by now. So I'm not going to really talk much more on that. Kingdom Come. This was a great story. I don't know if we could really classify it as a Justice League one.
There you
The
go.
first two
Good
was
brand boom too.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's when you buy it at Aldi. You order it off a Wish.
Yeah.
It's the
So-
Temu version.
Right. But I like this the Kingdom Come because it explored heroic responsibility, moral ambiguity, dangers of unchecked power, that type of stuff. Superman, Superman's role as a moral leader, Kingdom Come reinforced that, I think. And he's like the moral compass for the whole DC universe. So that's why I like Kingdom Come. Plus the artwork in there was by Alex Ross. That's just amazing on itself. So definitely check that out. Next one I got is JLA Earth 2. JLA
Good
Earth
choice.
2. Yep. This is the one where they're fighting the evil versions
Crime
of themselves.
Syndicate.
Yeah, the crime syndicate. And it's just like an epic battle in itself. It kind of covers like the values of justice and heroism that can be twisted and perverted. It's shown through the crime syndicate. So it was everything that you would expect to see a mirror image of. A corrupt Batman, a corrupt Superman, that type of situation. So it's definitely a story if you want to see like their evil selves, if you want to say. So definitely check that out. So I'm not going to go into Tower of Babel because we already have done that. So Uncle Gary, the floor is yours. Let me
Real
find
fast,
your
why would
card
you
here.
put a non-Justice League member in a photo of yours?
Well, I see a Justice League member all over the place on these.
No, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in New 52 that you love so much.
I didn't count that. I figured they needed to put him in there because they needed the 7th member, and they're like, let's just give him a bone.
I love Cyborg as part of the team. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what? I've said it before. I don't mind Cyborg
Me
as
neither.
part of the league. I don't like the way they did it in that where they had him as a founding member. I would, he would have been.
I don't mind him in the league. It was just I just feel like he was too, like he was just thrown in there, and then like the movie did the same thing, and I just hated it.
Yeah,
All right.
but I would have liked it if it was, hey, you
Hashtag
were in the Titans.
Cyborg's a Titan.
Now you've made it to the big leagues.
Yep.
Yep.
Graduated. All
Yeah.
right, Gary, here is your recommended reads. Yeah, Kingdom Come was great.
All right, there we go. So to
Thanks,
talked
Chris.
talked about this earlier. Justice
Thanks,
League
ma'am.
of America 100, 101, 102. Those three great Nick Cardy covers. The art by Dick Dillon was so was on the inside of that, and Len Wein wrote it. And it's just a great anniversary issue. It's for the 100th. It was a 3-issue JLA JSA team up. So they went large with an extra issue. And not only do you have the JLA and the JSA on their annual team up, it's the anniversary issue, and they threw in the 7 Soldiers of Victory, who had been lost and forgotten and displaced in time. And in classic Gardner Fox, formula, they split up in teams. They go after different members of the 7 Soldiers of Victory, the JLA, JSA combined to make these little mini teams, and they go find these characters and then bring them back for the big culmination, to go after the big bad at the end in 102. And that's that great cover where Superman's standing above them and says, he says, "For the earth to live, one of us must die." What a great cover.
Yeah.
And it's just everything you want in classic JLA goodness with the JSA, and going back and pulling it back in the 7 Soldiers of Victory, which was fantastic. Also, the aforementioned JLA 200. So JLA 200, we talked about some of the things in there, but what was really great is that you had these different chapters. Again, these heroes it's pitting the old original 7 members versus all the new members that came later. The original 7 members have been infected by this ticking time bomb. The Appalachians have left for them, and so these chapters were drawn with artists who were very familiar with the characters. So you had Jim Aparo doing a segment with Aquaman and the Phantom Stranger, Red Tornado. She had Aparo doing the chapter. Terry Austin inking. Brian Boland doing some early work with Batman. We had Brett Breeding. You had Pat Broderick. You had Jerry Conway writing this. Frank Gosia, Dick Giordano, Carmen Infantino, Gil Kane, who was famous, for his Atom and for his Green Lantern. Joe Kubert doing Hawkman, and the great George Perez, doing the framing sequences and the final things. So you got all these great chapters drawn by these great artists who were very much connected with these particular characters they were doing, and then a great framing sequence, at the beginning and at the end by George Perez. This was a spectacular anniversary issue. And let me tell you something else, ladies and gentlemen. It's cheap. It's cheap. You can buy it at a con and get a nice copy for less than $10.
Nice.
It is worthwhile. Pick it up. It's fantastic. Again, in my opinion, the greatest anniversary issue of any comic ever done. And it's the spirit of the Justice League just emanates through this whole thing. I read that segment earlier where it was there, they don't need a slogan. They're just simply the greatest team there's ever been. And it's just fantastic. And the last, we've talked about it, JLA versus Avengers 1 through 4. This is my favorite superhero series of all time. The fanboy in me, like Chris had mentioned earlier, we had waited 20 years for this. This thing was scuttled in 1984 by Jim Shooter at Marvel. And George Perez had already started doing some of the artwork, and that leaked out. And as fans, we were all crushed, absolutely crushed that this did not happen. But if the result of it not happening was what we got in JLA versus Avengers, then I'm good with the wait, because it was spectacular. Kurt Busiek, George Perez, It is I mean, the fanboy in me just almost wept with joy through each page. It was so wonderful. So many great Easter eggs thrown in. Everybody who was ever a Justice League member or an Avenger appeared in the pages of that book. And, you know, many of the different iterations of each character because they're doing time jumps. Oh my goodness. It was just fantastic and highest recommendation. You can, you can buy the trades of it can be a little pricey. I'm lucky I have 2 trades, the Absolute Edition, oh gosh, signed by Perez. I'm very lucky there. And I have several sets of the original. That might be your cheapest way to get them is to buy the original set. You can usually get them for about $60 to $80 for this set of 4. Well worth it. Again, my absolute favorite superhero comic ever. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Good stories, Gary. Good stories, indeed.
and
There we go. All right, so we can
did y'all
jump
want
to
to
our.
see toy? Oh, we got to do
Oh,
that.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Just a few toys. Here's the great iconic cover.
In The Brave and the Bold, number 28, the alien creature, Starro the Conqueror, attempts to invade Earth. 5 founding members of the Justice League of America spring into action to battle the fiendish villain.
So
Aquaman. He was raised by and became the namesake of lighthouse keeper Arthur Curry. But in the water, he truly thrived. In adulthood, Aquaman used his aquatic telepathy and great strength to patrol the 7 seas and served as king of Atlantis.
So this was by Matty Collector. I was out of the country when this went on sale. I told my kids, get this thing. You make sure you order that. Do not let it go because it will sell out. So it cycles through the heroes and then it has
This
a little
cover
end
has
piece.
resonated with comic book fans and collectors since it first appeared, inspiring many tributes throughout the years. It is also revered for having 2 important firsts. It showcases the first appearance of the Justice League of America, as well as being the first time Aquaman was featured on a cover.
So there you go. So had those 2 great firsts. So just, great JLA swag. Love this. And then what's really cool, there was a set of things called World's Finest where you get these boxes and they'd have, gear in them, shirts in there, little swag in there.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
And this box is so freaking cool. And what's really cool for me, it's got all these Justice League covers on it. Different iterations of it, the Treasuries, the Brave and the Bold issues. Every cover shown on here. Of course, I have every damn book. So,
I was waiting for that
that's
one.
really neat. And then just to go back to show some of the covers again. This isn't my Genesis book. That's somewhere else, but I still have it beat to hell. But this is the issue of my first comic ever. Justice League 111, 100-pager, satellite years. It's wonderful. I showed y'all the great wraparound cover to Justice League 100. So good. I mean 200. And then there's the great part of my recommended. So 200 was recommended reading. The 100, the 101, and then the great 102 cover. My recommended reading. If you could get, this is very special. This is the JLA Avengers book that they did right before Perez died. They were going to get a special.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, Funko did. I have that too. Where they were going to do a special edition of this for Perez, and it was going to go for. I think funds went to him and his family.
Yeah.
And they got it out. And DC and Marvel, they've had some issues. They don't work together. But God bless everybody that got together and made this book happen. It was disappointing there weren't more copies made, but just the fact that copies were made was a Herculean effort to get this out. And Perez got to hold this in his hands before he died. And this was the second time this had ever been collected in a trade. I mean, I do have the Absolute version, but this is just wonderful that this book happened, and to have this book where the proceeds went to Perez and his family, and to have this is special. So I was lucky because all the shops were allocated, how many copies they could get. So this is where being one of the owners was a perk. But we did not. The copies we got of this book, we didn't do what some shops did and jack up the prices and do all that crazy stuff with them. So, but this is a special book, and
what our shop did was I think our shop only got one copy, right, Sal? Because they did a raffle. They did a raffle for it.
Yeah, which is good. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the proceeds went to the Perez's family, I believe, right?
Yeah, but because they only got one copy, and again, it's some I would have liked to have been able to get a copy, but it is what it is. And if you could look up online too, you could see pictures of they took of Perez, like getting to look at it and hold it. There, it's really really great pictures of that.
Hey, hats off to everybody that made that happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
DC and Marvel did great. Yes. Yep.
Yep. All right, then. Moving on to our next segment now. The second to last segment of the night, I'll say, is our best writer and best artist for Justice League. This is going to be a hard one, folks, because there's been so damn many. But Dan, why don't you kick us off first and tell us what you got?
The writer was really tough for me. I mean, it's one of those ones that can be tough a lot, but I mean, especially on this one for, all the different iterations and all the different series and mini series. You ask, the writer I say now, you ask me a day or two from now and it might be different, but as of now, I'm going to go with Grant Morrison. The way that he brought, he brought JLA back. The Midsummer's Nightmare, was written by someone else. It was Fabian Nietzsche.
Fabian, yeah.
It was him and Kurt. It was him and Mark Waid, I think, that wrote it. It was
yes.
That wrote it, and that put the Big Seven back together, and then it led into the JLA. But the way he launched that book, and I mean, every story arc was just. It was epic story after epic story after epic story, and the way he wrote it with the grand scale is why I had to pick him. But again, you asked me 2 days from now, and it might be Jerry Conway or it might be Mark Waid's.
Right.
And the artist was the easiest thing to pick of all this is Perez. I mean, from his. From the actual Justice League book to, you could see his style grow throughout the book too. And then JLA Avengers, just, fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. So true. All right, Jamie, why don't you go next for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Morrison. No matter what, it's gonna be back and forth for me between him and Johns. But for artist, everyone's can say Perez, and that's going to be my upper echelon. But if I had to pick someone other than Perez, which I usually tend to do because I can say Perez for every character we've done,
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to go with Jason Fabok.
Yeah, it's a strong pick.
Very good. Very good. All right, I'll go next, and I'll leave last for Uncle Gary. There's been so many. Dan hit the nail on the head for this one. Brad Meltzer, Jerry Conway, Mark Waid. I'm going to go with Jerry Conway. I mean, all these writers have been 100% awesome. It was very hard to choose, so I'll go with Jerry Conway. For artist, Perez is the obvious answer. Yes, I also think Alex Ross did great, but I'm going to go with Joe Kubert. So that's my out of bounds pick for artist.
All right. He did some great covers. Covers for him.
Gary, got the floor.
All right, here we go. Now, most of the time, I adhere to the rules on this show.
That's a bold-faced lie. That's a bold-faced lie.
No,
but
most
moving
of the
on.
time I do when we're picking writers and artists.
He's usually good.
I usually just have one of each.
Yeah.
But there have been instances where we have deviated. This is my time to deviate. I'm picking two of each.
Okay.
Two of each.
All right.
So for my writer, attention must be paid to the first one who did it, and that is Gardner Fox.
Huh?
Gardner Fox would be on my list of top 10 most important, and Chris will agree with this, I'm sure, of most important comic writers ever. Because again, Justice Society of America happens because of Gardner Fox. Justice League of America happens because of Gardner Fox.
Yep.
So the formula, the teams break into smaller teams, fight, come back together, the large team go out and kick ass together. That was Gardner Fox that put all that in motion, and he is the guy that brought these teams together. Now, I'm also going to agree with what Chris just said here. My 1A is Jerry Conway. I believe Jerry Conway has written more Justice League stories than anybody. Jerry Conway, I have not met the man, and I know he has a daughter that lives in this area, and I had hoped to see him at a local con here, but I know he's had some health issues, and he hasn't traveled. But I would love to meet that man. Some of my very, very favorite Justice League stories were written by Jerry Conway, so he is my 1A. For artist, I have to say George Perez, but we all know how great he is. He's also the artist for the Avengers for all of us. He'd be the artist for the Teen Titans for all of us. Any kind of superhero team, George Perez kicks major league ass. And JLA Avengers, again, magnum opus there. But I want to give this guy a lot of credit because he's not talked about, and he did a hell of a job, and that is Dick Dillon. Do y'all have any idea how long Dillon worked on this title? Dan is a big Oriole fan, and I was when I grew up, and Cal Ripken was the man. Do y'all have any idea how long Dick Dillon did this book? I'll give you some issue numbers. Dick Dillon started penciling this book with JLA number 64 in 1968. Dick Dillon penciled it every damn issue all the way through JLA 183 from 1980. So over 12 years, over 100 issues, 164 to 183. Was that 120 issues? Yep. Thank you, Chris. Dick Dillon. It was maybe it wasn't the most spectacular art, but it was professional. He also did a lot of World's Finest work at the time, but it was just done well. It gave the characters a look, and I think it's one of those things where we overlook it, but you got to appreciate that kind of that dedication of what he did. 68 to 1980, uninterrupted run. And you know why 183 was his last issue?
No.
He died.
I was going to say he died.
I was like, no, I don't know.
He died. So it's, quote, death of a salesman about Willie Loman. Attention must be paid.
Yep.
To Mr. Dick Dillon. So that's me giving an old school shout out to a guy that we don't even talk about anymore. It's a damn shame because he was a hell of a professional and he did a hell of a good job. And he did that from 1968 to 1980, JLA 64 to 183. So, just want to give him some love. I want to give Gardner Fox some love.
There you go. All right. Very good. So that is our second to last segment. So our last segment tonight, folks, this is the one where you get to decide who is on your team. Right. Yep. Absolutely, Chris. Absolutely. Who is on your team? So, Jamie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off first? Who is on your team?
I was hoping to go last, but I'll definitely go first on this one. So, to preface this a little bit, I took this as a challenge. I took this as this. I could pick any character that was on the JLA from any era that's gonna just annihilate the rest of these buffoons teams. Okay, that's what I did. So with my number one pick, okay, pre-crisis Superman.
Okay.
Yes, he
no limits, no weaknesses really. Just only thing you can hurt him is kryptonite. At that point, my number two, I got Batman, but Dick Grayson Batman. I think he showed he can hold the mantle even better than Bruce ever could. My number three, I got a Lantern. I got Kyle Rayner, but is Ion. At my number 4, I got a Flash. I got the Flash, Barry Allen during Crisis. Number 5, I have the original Firestorm. Number 6,
The Professor.
yeah. Number 6, I have the God Killer herself, the New 52 Wonder Woman. And then lastly, because he just looked so badass during this run, I have Peter David's Aquaman.
He was badass. Yep.
There you go.
Well, Booge has got Nightwing, Metamorpho, Hawkman, Mr. Terrific, Animal Man, Firestorm, and Power Girl.
That is an interesting lineup. I like
Yes.
that. I like that.
Yep.
And magic. Yes, Superman had a little magic issue. Yeah.
Yep.
No normies for me. You like it, Boosh?
Yep.
I'd
Good
read
choices,
that.
Jamie. Yeah. Good choices, Jamie. That's a good one.
JLA of revamps from the 90s. Electric Blue Superman, Hippolyta Wonder Woman, Azrael Batman, Kyle Rayner Green Lantern, Aquaman with one hand, Wally West Flash, and Connor Hawk Green Arrow.
In that Morrison run, there was a fantastic 2-part Green Arrow issue with Connor. And Connor had to use the boxing glove arrow to save the day against the Key. And he's like, "Oh, Dad, you're going to get me killed."
I love that line because he was out of arrows and the Justice League's all captured, and he has to go to the trophy room to get the old ones, and he just is like shaking his head at it. There was a great line too when Superman went electric blue, and he insisted.
And they woke up from the dream.
Yeah, he insisted on, no, I'm not just going to stay on the league because of who I am. Like, I have to show you my powers and prove that that I belong here. And they're asking all the members, should he stay? Should he gets to Batman? And Batman goes, of course he does. He's Superman.
Yeah. All right, Dan, why don't you go next and give us your 7?
Well, again, this was a tough one. Gary and Jamie a while ago did their top 10 league members, so I assume you just went back to your list and had to trim it down some.
There was just a couple,
but this was a tough one. Again, the roster I pick now, if you ask me next week, it'll probably be completely different.
Yep, I agree.
An armless Archer super. I mean, Green Arrow in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, he's missing an arm in that. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Used his teeth.
So I intentionally went, and picked some, I only picked one of the big 7 and to have in mind so that I could fit some other characters in. So the one member of the big 7 in mind is the character I think of as the heart of the Justice League, which is Martian Manhunter.
Yep.
Who would also be the leader of this team. And one thing I was thinking of too with the league is balancing out the power. I'm thinking like, all right, what do you got to have in a team? You got to have flight. You got to have super strength. You got to have magic. You got to have, some kind of speed. You got to have, telepathy. You've got to have energy projection. So, trying to think of that as building the roster. Let's see, the Trinity Green Arrow, Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Red Tornado. Yeah, I mean that's
a good
hard
group.
to argue. Yeah, it's hard to and again, this is everybody's pick, so it's hard to really argue with anyone unless you're picking Vibe or Gypsy.
Oh, damn! Let me cross my guys off.
Congorilla out.
Yeah, Manitow Raven.
Yep.
No, he was interesting for a while. All right, so Martian Manhunter. I had to go with 2 characters. It's well known that I love, and I love their the way they work with each other, which is
Hawk and Dove,
Booster Gold, and Blue Beetle.
Yep.
This I'm not going with the goofy iterations of them from the from the Giffen DeMatteis team. I'm going with the iterations of Beetle that was before that, and and especially the ones from that ended up being the only one to figure out what Maxwell Lord was up to.
That was Beetle was amazing in that. Yep.
Yeah, and there was a great series again, so many recommended reads you put on Justice League Generation Lost, when it was Booster getting fire and getting the Rocket and the Guy Gardner, and not the and getting the other Blue Beetle and them going after Maxwell Lord because nobody else could remember anything except for them. Fantastic.
Yep.
I got Hawkman on there.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And I got the Atom again. Love the chemistry between them, and with the Atom, you got to have a science guy on your team.
Yep.
I went with Zatanna because you got to have
good choice, good pull.
Yeah, you got to have a magic user on there, and if she's willing to rock a top hat and fishnets, even better. Yeah, Red Tornado was one I really wanted on my team. I actually have my team, and then underneath I have a list of 7 other ones that would be like the next ones.
Yeah. Blue gold, baby.
Knew Chris would like that.
I agree with you. I was upset when they killed Ted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad
Broke Booster's heart too.
Yeah.
This is a lineup.
Blue Devil, Shazam, Batman, Kyle Rayner, Aztec, Question, and Rocket Red.
There's not a whole lot of trust in that group.
No,
there's not.
but it is a group.
Mm-hmm.
Zatanna, and then my last pick, I actually just picked doing this because I remember the character. So Firestorm was the one that I dropped off so I could add this last character, which is Power Girl, because of sheer power and big titties.
Wow.
Defying gravity.
Maybe we just said, and the ability to motorboat.
So Martian Manhunter, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Hawkman, Atom, Zatanna, Power Girl.
I like it.
We're getting
Nice.
so demonetized this episode.
Yep. All right. So for my 7, what I did is I threw out the big 3, the Trinity. I threw out Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So they're not on this team whatsoever. Rebuild Detroit. So I have a team of these 2 are going to be the leaders. They'll be co-leaders, but it's Flash, Wally West Flash, and Green Arrow. They'll be like the heart and the soul, I believe, of the team. I also have,
Oliver.
Oliver. I got Adam and Hawkman because, like you said, the chemistry between them 2 are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I got a GL in there. I've got Hal Jordan as GL, and I have Mr. Terrific and Black Canary.
Nice. Give her some love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Green Arrow needs her.
Yep.
Mhm.
They're almost like, they're inseparable. So, all right, Uncle Gary, floor is yours.
All right. Well, when I did this with Jamie earlier for our rosters, I had 10 characters, and I had the original 7, and the other 3 were the 3 that followed. Green Arrow from JLA 4, Adam from 14, and Hawkman from 31. So those were my 10 plus the original 7. So now they made it more brutal, and I can only have 7. Well, I'm a traditionalist. So it's going to be Superman. It's going to be Batman. It's going to be Wonder Woman. It's going to be Aquaman. It's going to be the Martian Manhunter. It's going to be the Barry Allen Flash. And it's going to be the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. The original 7, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby. Those original 7 begat the rest of the modern DC universe and the Marvel universe. So I'm going with those 7.
All right, there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
Pure chalk, like I told you.
Yep.
And when we get to episode 200 and we do the Justice League revisit, I have 7 completely different members. Of that.
Yep. So will I.
Well, if we ever do another Justice League show, then I think it's like Dan had suggested before, break it into eras. You know, and talk about specific era. So
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. Well, thank you, Booge. Appreciate that. All right, then I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. Anybody have any final thoughts on the Justice League themselves?
Well, what a great subject for our 100th anniversary.
Yes.
episode.
Absolutely.
So,
Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for participating with guys. We love you guys. We always enjoy hearing your comments as well. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm your host, Sal the Slab Guy. Over there, that right there is our master builder, J Dub.
Chris.
He's always flipping sides on me, so I never know what's going on. Oh,
Great,
wait a minute, hold on.
Chris. Yep.
Yeah, Hal,
Yep,
Barry,
Barry,
Powerball, Martian Manhunter, Blue Beetle, Hawkman, Mr. Terrific. I mean, that's a good lineup too.
That is. All right, down below him, right over there is Dan the Kelly Art from Instagram, and of course, right there is the preacher of the lore, the Ric Flair of comics, Uncle Gary.
Woo!
Thank you, everybody, for joining once again for the Comic Character Week of the Justice League. We will catch you next week.
Poison Ivy.
Yep. I was going to say
Itching
we're going
for it.
With a special guest.
with a special guest.
So they made the so Jerry Conway had the joke about the Justice League didn't need a battle cry. If they had a battle cry, what would it be? Avengers Assemble. It's got that alliteration in it. Yeah.
Well, according to the Wasp, it's League Lambast. That was in JLA Avengers.
I'm at Justice for All, and then they just start playing Metallica as they attack.
Don't trust
There you go.
Batman.
Don't trust Batman.
I like that. Don't trust Batman.
Don't trust
Oh, I
Batman.
think Chris,
That guy, can't trust him.
I think Chris has their battle cry.
Give me
Gaping
holes.
holes. There you go.
All right.
Hashtag
On
Beast
that,
is
folks.
Leaguer.
Long live the Legion. Long live the Legion. All right, folks.